Good evening, everyone. Severe Other Team 9 meteorologist Nathan Chen joining you for this edition of Nate at 8. Coming up, the changes are upon us today, featuring a lot of the same as yesterday, but now we're going to see some changes. The first of which will be more cloud cover. Throughout the day tomorrow, we'll notice an increase in that cloud cover. It's going to turn dreary on us, likely with cloudy skies by tomorrow afternoon. That being said, cloud cover is out ahead of rain. It holds off for the vast majority, if not all of the daytime. By Wednesday night, tomorrow night is when that rain will be breaking out. From there, we get more of a washout overnight Wednesday going through Thursday. So we're going to be tracking quite a bit of rain coming our way. So we'll break down how much rainfall we can see in general when it comes to rainfall amounts. And we'll take a better look at the timing of that rain coming our way as we extend into tomorrow as well, coming up for this edition of Nate at 8. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Appreciate it as always. Let's jump into things. Our temperatures for tonight, well, it's going to be cold again for us, already chilly. Temperatures in the 40s, also maintaining a bit of a breeze and certainly adding a chill to the air. We'll notice that our low temperatures likely dip back in the 30s tomorrow morning, mid-upper 30s. And factoring in those wind speeds, it's going to feel even further in the 30s. Certainly going to be a cold start to your Wednesday. Once we do get past tomorrow morning, though, once we start to see a lot more cloud cover in place, those lows are even back in the 40s likely Thursday into Friday, then falling back towards mid-upper 30s Saturday, Sunday, where we can start to deal with more frost. Can be a little more widespread Sunday, more isolated Saturday, and again, more patchy Wednesday. So you could look at it as more scattered frost for tonight, more isolated likely Saturday morning, and then more widespread Sunday morning. Just in general, we can deal with some areas of frost for a lot of these mornings with the exception of Thursday, Friday. And keep in mind, the growing season has been declared over by the National Weather Service office in Pittsburgh. That covers the vast majority of our area, with the exception of Tyler County. But that being said, with the growing season declared over, we will not be dealing with any more frost advisories issued or freeze watch or warnings issued at this point on until spring of next year. So don't be watching for those frost advisories. If you're wondering when we'll deal with frost, stay tuned with us to let you know when we can deal with some areas of frost. Because again, with growing season declared over, they're not going to issue those into these mornings, despite with that potential for some frost extending into a good amount of these mornings over the next 5 days. Joe, good evening. Thanks for doing Nate. You are so welcome. Thank you for tuning in, Joe. You were so welcome for doing this edition of Nate at 8. Appreciate you tuning in as always as well, Austin. Appreciate you joining as always. Good evening. Today was cold and chilly. The wind definitely didn't help as it finished mowing, hopefully for the last time until spring. Saw the wind actually blowing some trash cans. Yeah, some pretty gusty winds today, wasn't it? Those winds were whipping, and you got on that sun. It was certainly a chill to the air. The sun definitely helped. You stay in the sun, and in fact, stay in the car without the wind, and it warmed up. But yeah, you got out of the sun, and yeah, that wind certainly had a bite to it, if you will. It certainly had a chill to the air. So I look at the latest with Hurricane Melissa, and as you can see now extending north of Jamaica. We've been tracking this going throughout this morning into this afternoon, just bringing catastrophic damage and impacts across Jamaica. This, going down as one of the strongest hurricanes on record, and it maintained that strength into landfall. So again, a lot of recovery efforts at this point. Again, likely just devastation across a lot of Jamaica, and it's going to take a long time, likely, and to recover. And this was a horrific scene for Jamaica. Now, as we look further towards the north, it's turning then towards Cuba. Now, has weakened. Max winds 125 miles per hour, pressure 950 millibars. The maximum winds with Melissa were even extending over 180 miles per hour, and that pressure was even down to less than 900 millibars. And this is one of the ways that we gauge the strength of hurricanes is based off of the low pressure. So dealing with 892 millibar pressure ranks it as one of the strongest hurricanes on record, behind Labor Day hurricane in 1935, Gilbert in 1988, and Wilma of 2005. And again, one of the strongest, and also maintaining that strength into landfall Jamaica. Horrible to see. Our thoughts and prayers with those, because again, likely just catastrophic damage and impacts across a lot of Jamaica. Now, again, anticipated to weaken some with respect to what we saw into Jamaica, but this is still going to likely be a major hurricane as it makes landfall into Cuba. So again, still dealing with some horrific impacts into portions of Cuba likely as well. From there, it does look to further weaken back to a category 3, eventually even category 2 hurricane as it then takes aim towards Bermuda. Melissa is not going to make landfall into the eastern United States. Not going to be a direct impact in that way. The biggest impact will be seen likely along the East Coast is more of rip current risk. So just dangerous swimming conditions along the eastern coast of the United States. Now, outside of that, we got no direct impact there from Hurricane Melissa. Stays far enough out into the Atlantic, but again, devastating impacts there into Jamaica, portions of Cuba, in general across the Caribbean, and then towards Bermuda as well. So I just not dealing with just dealing with some horrific conditions for some of those locations, and again, just terrible to see. It is terrible to see, and likely a long recovery effort is in store for portions there of Jamaica and even into Cuba. Again, likely not as strong by the time it's making landfall in Cuba with respect to Jamaica, but still for those two countries specifically, dealing with some horrendous impacts likely from Melissa before it continues to further weaken as it turns towards the northeast, eventually making its way towards Bermuda. So, Austin, want to continue wishing hope and prayers for everyone in Jamaica. Absolutely. I actually heard that they could possibly be having allegations of floodwaters, praying that doesn't happen. Austin reporting. And I heard that as well. And yeah, just make matters even worse than it already is. So, yeah, just certainly I can't say that enough, that thoughts and prayers with those being affected by Melissa, Jamaica, and, as it turns towards Cuba as well. Just horrible to see. For us here in the Ohio Valley, conditions quiet as we extend overnight into tomorrow. Little cloud cover in place. We do have that still bit of a breeze. If we were to see winds calm tonight, we'd likely be talking about some widespread frost, lows well in the 30s, but just doesn't look to be the case. So we've got part of the condition to see temperatures bottom out. We need those winds to calm in addition to skies clearing. And we'll probably get half of that equation tonight. It's still with the clear skies and a bit of a breeze, still likely notice those low temperatures dip towards, again, mid upper 30s. So cold enough to still deal with some more patchy frost, but likely nothing widespread going into tomorrow morning. Cold start across the area, turning to a cool in, high temperatures towards the mid 50s tomorrow afternoon. Notice by the afternoon hours, there's our cloud cover. So we can still spot some more sunshine in the morning, and then skies turn cloudy into the afternoon. And there's the rain. So late afternoon and evening, we'll start to watch for some showers for the drive home. I don't think we're dealing with that steady rain quite breaking out yet for the drive home on Wednesday. But at this point, yes, 4 or 5 o'clock, we can start to see some showers. So there's a potential for some showers out ahead of that more steady rain. And will that steady rain develop? Well, likely closer to and after the time the sun sets. So especially leading up closer to about 8 o'clock, that steady rain breaking out across the area. And from this point on, Wednesday night going into Thursday, it is again, washout. Rain can be heavy at times, and it just does not let up likely going into Thursday morning. Then as we go throughout the day, Thursday can let up a little bit, but even with some breaks in this rain, it can be met still with some drizzle and cloudy skies, some drizzle. There's no necessarily dry time as we go through Thursday. A lot of it's, again, just going to be wet. This rain looks occasional, and even some breaks that we could get could very well be met with still some drizzle in place. So if anything, the intensity can vary on our precipitation throughout Thursday, but it's likely fairly consistent going through a good portion of the day. So more of that washout Thursday, but by Friday morning, as that low pressure system that's delivering that rain to our area on Thursday moves out in the northeast, takes the rain with it and a lot of the cloud cover. So we'll notice some sunshine, not a lot, but at least some sunshine return Friday. In addition to that, likely spotting some much drier conditions. We can still see some showers Friday into Saturday, but overall much drier. And yes, certainly better trick or treat forecast into Friday evening and Saturday evening. So I know a lot of communities changing their trick or treat time from Thursday into Saturday. And while you still can't rule out a shower for a Friday evening and Saturday evening, it is certainly going to be a lot better at that point than it is going to be likely Thursday evening. So yes, certainly we'll set up for some better conditions at that point. A lot of the communities I know changing from Thursday into Saturday. And yeah, it's a good move, I think. And still can't rule out a shower. It's possible, but much drier overall better conditions likely Saturday evening with respect to what we're going to deal with Thursday evening. We could pile up quite a bit of rain during the stretch. Not too much to be had in terms of rainfall totals Friday and Saturday, but that period of Wednesday night through Thursday is when we can pick up the bulk of this rain. And rainfall amounts can reach upwards of 1 to 1.5 inches, and in spots, maybe closer to 2 inches of rain. That's going to be more isolated, but for a lot of us, upwards of 1.5 inches of rain is possible. A lot of that falls Wednesday night into Thursday, picking up quite a bit of rain during this stretch. That being said, we do have the potential to deal with some flooding. The flood threat is present there tomorrow. Again, this is mainly tomorrow night into Thursday. Is that potential for flooding is there? We're into that marginal risk. This is a product issued by the Weather Prediction Center. And that marginal risk, we're in that level 1 category. It just means that the flooding risk is likely more localized or isolated and overall likely more limited in intensity. So we're talking more on the order of some isolated minor flooding is what we have that potential for Wednesday night through Thursday. So likely nothing major or widespread, but some minor flooding in some locations is possible and something we're going to monitor Wednesday night to Thursday. Certainly something to stay tuned for, but thankfully, again, not anticipating anything major or widespread, but certainly picking up a lot of rain across the area during that stretch. And with the cloud cover and rain, our high temperatures are trending even colder into these afternoons. Still towards the mid 50s tomorrow, but from there, we're struggling to even get into the 50s Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And notice with a lot of cloud cover, the little variation in the temperatures from the morning into the afternoon, likely on the order of only a handful of degrees on Thursday with that steady rain and cloud cover. But even from Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, that temperatures are not going to be trending too far apart with respect to what we've seen as of recent, and upwards of only 10 degrees Friday. This is evidence that with the more cloud cover present at night, it's going to keep those overnight lows a bit warmer with respect to dropping lower 30s. Will likely be more upper 30s, closer to 40 going into the weekend. We can see a little more clearing then Sunday morning into Monday morning, that can start to drop those lows back towards the mid 30s. We can't see a little more clearing at that point, seeing those overnight lows drop back further into the 30s, where that more widespread frost risk comes back into play. But even despite dealing with some chilly afternoons, we're not set for some really cold mornings. I mean, those highs struggling to get into the 50s netted some temperatures near and below freezing across our area last week. So we do not look to repeat that for this week. Does not look to get that cold, just due to the fact that we're likely maintaining enough cloud cover at night during this stretch going into the weekend. But yes, highs struggling to get in the 50s and a breeze. Yeah, it's chilly. And that's right on par with what we had last week. Our chilly days where those highs struggled to get in the 50s and we had that breeze. If you remember back to how chilly some of those days were last week, that's what we're on par for here, likely. Looking ahead later this week, some pretty chilly afternoons overall and still cold mornings. It's just likely not dealing with any freezing temperatures coming our way as we go through the weekend. Clarice saying prayers for Jamaica, very cold mornings. In Wileyville, windy, yes, cold. Certainly have that bit of chill to the air, to say the least. That's for sure that we've had. And as breezy winds do not look to go anywhere. We'll see those wind gusts upwards of 25 miles per hour, maybe even upwards of 30 miles per hour on Friday. The breeze in place Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, as well as even into Saturday. We can see winds diminish some later into the weekend, but at least here near term, the breeze just continues into the weekend as well. So that's why I say you add that in with those high struggling to get in the 50s, and wind chills are a factor for a lot of the time. And you deal with temperatures in the 40s and below, and the wind chill comes into play. It's when the wind chills are something to note, and it can feel further into the 40s for a lot of Thursday, Friday, is even into the afternoon with those high struggling to get into the 50s. Asa said, has October ever had an entire month of below average temperatures? an entire month of below average temperatures. And boy, that'd be a tough task to do, Austin. Likely not. We've likely had at least some temperatures near normal, if not above normal. Certainly, we've had some Octobers where the majority of days ended up below average. But to say an entire month straight of days below average, likely not. I mean, from what's on record, I mean, I'm sure some point in the history of the Ohio Valley that could have happened. But from what we have on record, that'd be a tough task to do. I would say there at least be one day with more normal temperatures, above normal temperatures, not by much, but at least more seasonable days. But yeah, certainly could still get a month that features a majority of days below normal, the majority. And you could talk less than a handful of days where temperatures were above, and then the vast majority ending up below. Hello there, Jeffrey. How's it going? It's going pretty good. Thank you for tuning into this edition of Nate at 8 and getting ready to, soak up a little more sun tomorrow morning. It's going to disappear on us so probably pretty quickly throughout the day. And it's pretty dreary going into the weekend. Still a lot of cloud cover around Saturday, Sunday, Friday. At least then we can spot a little bit of sun, but we get back into a pretty dreary stretch of weather. It was certainly nice to see that sunshine, and again, spot a little bit more of it tomorrow morning, and then it disappears on us for a while. At least a little bit of it possible Friday and the weekend, but just overall pretty cloudy stretch of weather going into next week. As we look ahead going into the start of November. November's upon us. It is upon us. And don't forget, of course, this weekend, talking about November being upon us, November 2nd on Sunday is when we fall back. So don't forget the end of daylight saving time. We fall back on Sunday. The sun sets this coming Sunday before 6 o'clock. Even before 6 o'clock, the sun is setting. In fact, even by around 6 o'clock, it's getting pretty dark. So the really early sunsets are now upon us. Going into November. And it starts with the end of daylight saving time this coming Sunday. So don't forget to turn those clocks back an hour this weekend, Saturday night into Sunday. Don't forget to, especially this time of the year, test those smoke alarms, right? Make sure your smoke alarms are working, test them. And it's a good time to do it. I've heard, it's a good rule of thumb every time we spring forward or fall back, but especially this time of the year, and we're starting to heat our homes again. Any of those heating elements can always pose a fire risk. So please make sure, play it safe, right? Make sure you have a working smoke detector, smoke alarm, be able to wake you up in the event of something happening. So make sure. Also, of course, always, be safe with your space heaters, right? Plug them directly into the wall. Don't run them off a power strip. Plug it directly into the outlet in your wall. Also, don't run anything else to the outlet. Just run it by itself. And then ensure plenty of safe distance around your space heater. And then, of course, don't forget to, monitor it while it's running. And make sure not to forget to turn it off when you go to leave. Be safe with it, right? Larry, thank you for the weather. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Well, thank you for tuning in. You are more than welcome. I'm always happy to do these editions of Nate at 8. Appreciate all of you tuning in as always. We'll be coming up here, News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight at 11 for the latest on not only Hurricane Melissa, but of course, we're going to continue to dive into that rain coming our way into Thursday. And coming up tomorrow for the next edition of Nate at 8 is when we're going to be tracking the rain and moving into our areas. So stay tuned for that. I'll bring you the latest on how long that rain sticks around as we look ahead into the weekend. That's a pretty chilly stretch of weather going into the start of November. So we'll continue to break down the latest with that next edition of Nate at 8 as always. So that being said, hope you had a wonderful day. Have a great night. And I'll see all of you on that next edition of Nate at 8.